Well, good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. It is the Denver Bronco Roundup, your DBR. We got Jeudy Moncrief. We got Albert Knoppers in the house. We've got a ton to
Welcome.
get to, gentlemen. Yeah, welcome. Appreciate everybody. It didn't even allow you guys to say welcome. So yes, welcome in, guys. Albert, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. It was a
Yeah.
great day today, and uh, today is probably the last time from the hotel here.
Wow.
I'm allowed to go back to home.
Nice.
I am excited for you, buddy, man. Albert has been camped out in a hotel for way too long. Man, your dedication to be not only to your job, but to this podcast every single week from a hotel room. Bless you, sir. I appreciate you a ton, man. And I'm happy for you to be back home. It'll be nice to see you relaxed in your own little digs there, man. So,
Absolutely.
Jeudy, man, how are you, sir?
Doing good. Watching the snow melt. Great day in legal tampering yesterday.
Oh, yes.
Broncos killed it. Lots to talk about. Can't wait.
God, can't wait, man. Can't wait. It is, like you said, man, tons to get to. Like I said, we need, since last Tuesday, well, first, before we get started, just a quick reminder, the Denver Bronco Roundup is brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Check out Rocky Mountain Sports Network to get all your sports news, rumors, and awesome podcasts like this and many more. Anyway, we got a ton to get to. Since last week, we didn't even have the releases at that point, so we'll hit the releases. We'll go over the signings we made or will make since we're just in legal tampering at this point. Get to the tenders that were given to exclusive rights agents. We'll likely hit on some Sutton and Jeudy rumors, maybe. Shoot, wow, what the... and what positions we still need in the draft, plus some signings from around the league for sure. I was reading from a script, had my eyes off the screen. I don't know what transformer came into the screen or the shot, but certainly heard it. I know that sound like nothing else. That's for dang sure. So, Did you guys pick that up? What was that?
That was my phone. I'm getting an email.
Oh, wonderful. We all know where it's at. Maybe a little bit later I'll break out some of my finds that I got. Maybe you'll enjoy those as well. But gentlemen, we got too much to get to, man. I think we should just dive right in. We already got to how we're doing. But Jeudy, I'm going to start off with you, man. You spoke numerous times here on the DBR chat rooms, podcasts around all of Denver, I think, about the major cap space we could free up by releasing some key players in their contracts. It did end up happening after we got off the air last Tuesday. We end up releasing Graham Glasgow, Ronald Darby, and Chase Edmonds. So I'm going to start you off with two questions. First off, are you happy with this list? And second, would you have liked to seen anyone else added to it? So Jeudy, I'm going to let you take it. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I'm pretty happy with the list. They all made sense. The amount of cap that they were counting towards and really not producing on the field. Ronald Darby has been injured more than he's played since he's been here. Chase Edmonds did little really he flashed a few games, but he really was a late-term ad and really wasn't going to fit what this run game was going to be going forward. And Graham Glasgow, he did favorable at center, but he had a lot of penalties, a lot of holding calls, and the amount of money you were going to save was just too much to keep them on the roster.
Very good. So overall, like the list, anybody that would have liked to seen added, or like you said, just overall happy exactly what we put on that list, exactly what we got out of it?
No, I'm pretty happy. There's two guys out there that they need that I'd like to see something done with. Garrett Bowles, I'd like to see them either restructure, move some money around, something, because he's almost $10 million underwater. And then Courtland Sutton, he's got a massive cap hit of like $18 million. You can save some massive money there. If you're paying, it's hard to pay. If reports are true that Jeudy's going to be your true number one next year, I mean, you're paying two big guys for one of them to be really on the bench. And I say that with moves that we'll talk about later. I think Denver is going to be running the ball a lot. I think they're going to have a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, easy reads for Russ, lots of running the ball. So one of those guys is going to be on the bench, Patrick or Sutton, and you're just paying a huge amount of money for them not to be on the field.
Interesting take. So, obviously maybe some moves that could be made, some restructuring on some deals. It's really tough, Sutton is running into the heart of his contract. You don't want to extend him out. You don't want to necessarily convert just money to signing bonus in order to release cap space. But Albert, I'll let you hit on this as well. Are you happy with this list? Anybody that you want to add? Are you disappointed in this list? Anybody that you want to keep?
No, I'm really happy with how it is going. Yeah, Glasgow and Derby, I expected for sure, and I'm glad that a lot of players could go their own way as well. We don't have to pay for Dre'Mont Jones. We have got. We will look into that later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Sutton. I think Sutton might be the final candidate that either gets traded or an contract redone, because his abilities, what he had last year, was not on to par. So he played way under what he is getting paid for. So I think a restructure or trade would be a good thing.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. It looks like, gentlemen, I might throw this question over to you. I'm going to work on some things in the background. It looks like we might have lost a connection. See where exactly we're at, and that's probably why we dropped to 0 as far as our viewers. But before we got on the broadcast, some news hit, and so I'll just have you address this while maybe I check to see if we're okay. Ronald Darby looks like the only possible candidate that might be might have a possibility of coming back after we release somebody. Sometimes that does end up happening, but would you be willing and open to Ronald Darby coming back? I don't think Glasgow, and now with the recent news, Edmonds would be coming back. But Jeudy, what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess if for depth, I mean, I really want to see Davari Mathis as the number 2 next year. I think he's gonna. I mean, he showed enough last year as a rookie. I think he is only going to get better. So I think if Darby's willing to take a lower veteran deal and be a role depth guy, then sure. One thing that worries me about him a little bit is he's never really played special teams, and you're going to need that from your lower depth guys.
Gentlemen, it looks like for some reason it's completely dropped out on Facebook. I think we should just reload this and start again. I don't know where it went, but it only went for the first 7 minutes and then just stopped on us. So, well, now I'm getting reactions and viewers, so I don't know where I'm getting it from. If you're out there and you're watching us, it looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Looks like we might have a viewer. If you don't mind jumping in, dropping a comment, let me know where you're from. That would be fantastic. I know we got a laughy emoji as well. So looks like Michael Ronquillo is coming in. I got a live viewer from our page on the Denver Bronco Roundup. It looks like we might still be live on that Facebook page. Might need to get it shared over to other pages from there. So if you guys don't mind just searching out the Denver Bronco Roundup, making sure that's shared over to the Rocky Mountain Sports Network page, I'd appreciate it. I'm talking to my co-host there, and certainly if anybody else wants to as well, we would appreciate it. Looks like we're live out on YouTube and on the Denver Bronco Roundup Facebook page as we speak. Might have lost that connection over on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Rocky Mountain Sports Network, fantastic. Usually up and running and bringing you the Denver Bronco Roundup every Tuesday. Might be having some technical difficulties on the back end. Looks like I got Albert Knoppers jumping in the comments, though. I'm not sure where you came in at. from Albert, but appreciate you jumping in there and making sure that we're running on the comments. Where were you commenting from? Was it from the Roundup or was it from Rocky Mountain Sports Network, buddy?
From Roundup.
Oh, very good, buddy. We do have Michael Ronquillo coming in here and saying, good evening, Keith, Jeudy, and Albert. Thank you very much, Michael. We're going to be maybe not streaming out to all platforms, but we're going to keep on going. Appreciate you being in here very, very much. So, that being said, guys, let's just continue on. Like I said, Graham Glasgow, Ronald Darby, Chase Edmonds leave out the door, creating massive cap space for the Denver Broncos. Gentlemen, viewers, Bronco fans, I don't know about you, but I was absolutely shocked when legal tamper opening and the Denver Broncos, your Denver Broncos, were out there wheeling and dealing. I mean, quite honestly, usually this time period opens up. We're usually waiting for second-tier players to come through. We're not usually at the forefront. Last time I looked, the Denver Broncos had nearly doubled the next closest competitor in the free agency tampering period. We went out there and we got it done. Let's hit a few questions, but just to go over the list of who we brought on, who is going to help the Denver Broncos be a winning organization. First off, we go out and we get Mike McGlinchey. Is that right? Mike McGlinchey, right tackle, 49ers. Ben Powers, guard from the Ravens. Zach Allen, defensive end from the Arizona Cardinals. Jarrett Stidham, backup QB, coming over from the Raiders. Chris Manhertz, blocking tight end that came over from the Jaguars. We re-signed Alex Singleton in free agency. And then late signing, if you hadn't seen it or heard it already, Samjay Perrine, running back, last with the Cincinnati Bengals, comes over as well. I'm going to start off with Mr. Albert Knoppers. Albert, who was your favorite signing?
Favorite signing for me was Singleton. He deserved it. He has proven his worth. He's finally getting appreciated by a team that really likes what he is doing, and he got paid. And I think he deserved it.
Fantastic.
128 solo tackles in total. Yeah, that's just amazing. And then, of course, our O-line got severe upgrade, and I really enjoy that. Ben Powers and McGlinchey. Yeah, it's going to be a massive wall. I think that's what they're already calling it, the Bronco Wall. If you haven't seen it yet. So between the two.
Dropping out a little bit there, buddy, or maybe I'm dropping out a little bit. I'm not sure. So
I'm not sure.
Boy,
so I got both of you.
Okay, very good, buddy. Very good. Well, great. I mean, Alex Singleton, a guy that obviously, deserves the respect, went out there, led the Broncos in tackles last year, came over from the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people really slated him to be maybe just a special teamer, a backup to our linebackers. Obviously, Jonas Griffith goes out. He's pressed into playing and playing meaningful minutes and really stepped it up. Got a 3-year, $18 million contract, if I remember right. Really a big, a life changer for a guy like him. And by the way, former Montana State Bobcat. Go Cats, go! So that's my home. That's a hometown for me, basically, in Bozeman, Montana. So before we get to the next one, before I jump over to Jeudy, I just want to jump in. Michael jumping in here. Michael Ronquillo. Guard Ben Powers was my favorite signing in NFL free agency. I wanted him here with the Broncos. Fantastic, man. It's always good when you go out there and you're like, do your own little scouting. You maybe see who's on the free agency list, maybe do a little research on him, maybe you'd seen him play and remembered him and kind of mark that guy in your mind of someone that you'd like to see on the Broncos, and then it delivers. Congratulations, Michael Ronquillo. That's always fantastic. I love stories like that. Personally, it gives you a little bit of clout, makes you feel a little bit better. Jeudy, Who is your favorite guy from this list?
I had two. I was really glad they addressed this O-line. They probably, in my opinion, went out and got the best left guard and right tackle that were on the market. Ben Powers, he's just a monster in the run game. He played, gave up 1 sack last year, 1 penalty, 3 sacks in the last 3 years. That's just incredible numbers there. And then Mike McGlinchey, mauler of a right tackle. He probably does give up a few too many sacks, and that's something that he's going to have to work on. But with other signs that this team's made, they're going to focus hard on the run game. And, he's, 6'6", 320, and, it's all muscle. He's going to be great in this run game. Athletic, can pull. Those are my two favorite right there. Fix this O-line. Peyton addressed it right away when he was hired. That was his first statement. We're going to fix this O-line. And then George Payton said they were going to be aggressive in free agency, and both were true.
Both rang true, man. Both came through. Both rang true. Hey, we got to be happy when the Broncos go out there. We obviously had a need across that offensive line. Even in the last press conference that George Payton had, he said, obviously we need to address the offensive line. Didn't really speak too well to those guys that were possibly hoping they could come back, like a Dalton Reisner or a Graham Glasgow, a gentleman like that. It just certainly put them on notice right then and there. Since you guys kind of hit on a couple of them, obviously the offensive line was big. Alex Singleton was big. I'll go a little bit different route. I think Sam J. Perrine is a huge knock out of the park. Here we are. We got Javonte Williams. That's likely not going to be starting week 1. If he is, I don't expect him to have, all number 1 touches. It just doesn't. For the injuries that he had, people are wondering whether that guy even makes it back to the field, let alone is ready week 1. We talked about what this offense looks like under a Sean Payton. Well, Sean Payton likes to swing it out there, to be able to pass the ball to his running backs, to be able to sometimes run 2 running backs, and one of them needs to be able to catch the ball and be able to turn upfield. Sam J. Perrine is fantastic, and not only that, I looked up his stats. Yeah, he's a smaller guy, 5'11", 240 pounds. He brings it, man. He runs downhill. He gets you extra yards. He's a guy back in 2017. He was taken in the 4th round, and he was a guy that I was really hoping at the time the Broncos would add to their roster. Funny, much like Michael Ronquillo was saying how he wanted Ben Powers, here I am 5 years later. I'm sorry. This is his, 7th year he's going into? 7th year he'll be going into, and I finally get Sam J. Perrine on our roster. So I'm excited about what he'll do. I think he'll have that veteran presence. I think he'll be able to help hold down that backfield. And that was a big need coming in to this offseason. We didn't know where we'd be standing. Who knows? Maybe Latavius Murray is still on the table. He's still hanging out there. But as of right now, at least we've got part of it taken care of. Of all the people on here, Jeudy, I'll start back with you again. Who was your least favorite signing?
No, I really didn't have one. Maybe Jarrett Stidham, but if all goes well, like I've been predicting for a while, he will not see the field this year, and it's really not going to matter. I will piggyback off of yours. One thing I really liked about that P-Ron is he catches the ball out of the backfield. He had 38 catches last year for the Bengals and 4 receiving touchdowns. I think he kind of little bit different body size, but I think he's going to fit that Alvin Kamara type role. Catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. That's what what you need in this Payton offense. So I think he's going to fit perfectly.
Perfect, man. Perfect. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to be disappointed about, but, I wanted to give you guys the opportunity. Is there anybody that you wish wasn't on this list there, Albert? I think you're on mute too, sir.
Yep, I was on mute again.
It's all right, sir. No worries, man. That's the least of our problems this evening. Go ahead, man.
So yeah, I'm happy with all of the signings. There's not really a least favorite. I think we have an upgrade on a backup quarterback, which we needed. So yeah, for me there's great signings today and yesterday.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know how to word this. You know what I mean? Because hey, we're all going to have our favorite signing, right? Like you mentioned, it was Alex Singleton for you. As Jeudy was mentioning, maybe he had a couple because he really wanted to shore up that offensive line. So Ben Powers and McGlinchey were huge for him. I guess for me, when I say maybe least favorite, hey, there's always going to be maybe not that standout guy. One guy that I just want to see maybe, I guess, turn the page a little bit or step up his game just a little bit comparatively to the contract we gave him is Mike McGlinchey. I think he does have a couple of faults in his game. I don't think he's the perfect right tackle, but we didn't also get a top 5 tackle, and we're not paying him top 5 money. I understand that, but he did get a pretty healthy contract, which most guys do in the first wave of free agency. So for me, I just, he doesn't have the best movement. He's a little bit upright. Now, don't get me wrong, the guy's 6'8", 310 pounds. You tend to play a little upright when you're 6'8", but at the same time, would like to see him improve his game just a little bit with the coaching that we have here. Maybe not disappointed, but maybe feel like we maybe paid a little bit more than we should have, but we need to address that position. So I get it and I understand it, and I think that contract a couple of years in will fall right in line. Jeudy, I know that you were really high on McGlinchey and Powers. Do I hold any weight with what I'm saying, or are you seeing something different?
No, I agree with that. He's got to get a little bit better at, not falling for the fake moves and stuff when he's getting pass rushed. But when it comes to the run game, he's a monster, and I don't expect us to be 40 or 50 times a game throwing the ball. So, like we were last year, I think this is going to be the run is going to set up the pass, not the other way around.
That's fair, man. That's fair. Albert, for me, and I'll let you kind of go off on this. I went and I looked at some tape, and I don't know if you had a chance to look at Ben Powers, but I am in agreement with Michael Ronquillo. I think that might be the I guess best value that we maybe got out of this entire contract. You're shaking your head no, but so I'll go ahead and I'll take the screen for a second. In a little bit of tape that I was able to get from him, here's a guy that not only can stand his own when it comes to a pass rush, but talk about a guy that's big and can move. This guy is a pulling guard. If you've ever seen one, he got out. He is able to, hit that second level if need be. He can double team on the line or to blow open a hole. This is a guy that really, really, really I'm excited for, not only for us to see, but for all of Broncos country to see what fantastic guard play looks like. I think we really got it in Ben Powers, and I'm really excited for him to hit the field this next year. So, go ahead, buddy.
So then the weakest link right now would be Cushenberry, because we have McGlinchey on the right,
Bowles on the left,
Miners next to him.
Yep.
And then you have the weakling, let's call him that right now.
Wow.
And then Ben Powers. And then because of Ben Powers, I bet that Garrett Bowles, if he comes back, will have one great year. Because last year with Reisner, he couldn't do it by himself. So he had to sometimes pick up 2 people for Reisner as well. And that doesn't work. And now Bowles has somebody next to him that can stand his own man. Let's call it that way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Like I said, I'm absolutely excited for Broncos country to see Ben Powers at the field. You're absolutely right. I think he's going to help out with that play from Bowles. I think if we are sitting with Cushenberry playing out his last year of his rookie contract, I also think having Powers right next to him is going to be a massive upgrade. This guy understands schemes. I've seen him pick up blitzes. I've seen him pick up, just everything that's thrown at him. He understands the game. He gets it. I'm really excited for this guy to hit the field. I think that was so far is our best value in free agency by far. So, gentlemen, we talked a little bit about Alex Singleton. He made the short list of a Denver Bronco free agents we signed as they hit the market. But we should hit those restricted free agents we did not pick up. Brett Rippon was released. P.J. Locke, Sang Bassi, and Jacob Bobenmoyer. Similar question. There's Boben. Momoyer is how you say, or how it's spelled. So I didn't want to say it wrong. I'll say Bobenmeyer if it's right, if that's what you say. But I didn't want to mispronounce it. How's that, Albert? So
okay.
There is expectation that he's going to be back. He's our only long snapper on our roster. He's been there for several years. He did get injured last year, but looking to come back. No issues there. So with that expectation out of the way, and obviously Brett Rippon will not likely be returning. Of Locke and Sang Bassi, which of the two would you rather see re-signed if you could only choose one? And I'll go back to you on this one, Albert. Sang Bassi, like I said, and then
PJ Locke.
PJ Locke. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, I think there's still a bright future for him in the near future. He is a willing guy who wants to play, and he plays hard. And sometimes I think he plays over what he can do. He wants to do more, and that's why he makes mistakes. So I would like to see PJ Locke back.
Very good, man. Jeudy, Sang Bassi, PJ Locke. What are you thinking, buddy? Well, I guess I could also give you the option of neither. I don't want either of them back, but question was, which one of the two would you want back if you'd only get one?
I think PJ Locke for me. He was decent on special teams, and he did make some plays on defense last year. If you can get him back for the right price, I think he makes sense. Sang Basby, I mean, he's been cut, brought back multiple times. He's never really done it for me. And I think that they can upgrade that position depth-wise through the draft.
Well, I don't know if I'll agree with Jeudy that he never really did it for me, but that being said, if it wasn't for where we're at with Kareem Jackson is another guy that possibly could end up coming back to this team. If not, I think we do have that issue at safety. It's one of those positions that if we don't bring back a PJ Locke, it's definitely going to be a need in free agency. I just feel a little bit better about where we sit in defensive back and maybe the options that might be out there to fill a hole that Sang Bassi filled in comparison to a PJ Locke. So not only the safety depth, but as Albert mentioned as well, the special teams depth. I'd have to go with PJ Locke as well. Kind of surprised he was, again, that we released him outright, but there is a little bit of chatter in Broncos country that Kareem Jackson could see his return for yet another year for the Denver Broncos. Albert's not on board with Kareem Jackson, I take it, huh?
No, I'm definitely not on board with Kareem Jackson. He's becoming a liability, and on the long passes, he just can't do it anymore. And I would like to see Caden Stearns step up and take over that role of what Kareem Jackson had.
Interesting. I'm not as high on Caden Stearns, I'll be honest. I think, again, if we don't get Kareem Jackson back, I think it's a place that we need to really look at it within the draft, and I think it's someone that could beat out a Caden Stearns. Jeudy, are you on the same page as me, or are you more on that Jeudy side of things? You'd like Kareem Jackson to move on and Caden Stearns to maybe take the helm?
I'd like to see Caden Stearns get a chance. In the games that he was healthy, he made plays. I don't know what ownership thinks of like his tweet today, where he come out and said, like, paraphrasing, basically, if you all forgot what I done in the past, I'll have to show you again, or easy to forget about me, I'll have to show you again. I mean, he's only started 5 games. I mean, you really haven't shown that much. I mean, get on the field and stay healthy. I mean, he missed a lot of time last year.
Yeah.
And really, other than, I'll say Russ, just because of his contract, no one has given anything. And I mean, there are very few guys on this team, maybe a Russ, and maybe a Patrick Surtain, that are solid, solidified starters.
Yeah. I'll add Justin Simmons to that list, but I don't think it gets much deeper than that. I would agree. I was trying to think about even before we got into this chat tonight, guys. I was even trying to think of what is a truly tradable for for decent picks in a draft. Who would you be able to trade off this Denver Broncos roster? I'm telling you, that's not a very long list.
There's only one, Courtland Sutton.
Oh, I don't even think Courtland Sutton gets much. I think you're back to Patrick Surtain. I think you're back to Justin Simmons, and beyond that, I don't think you're getting much else for anybody. Jeudy might, just because of how cheap his contract is at this moment. You could probably get a fairly high pick for Jeudy as well, but I don't see where Sutton's getting paid $18 million a year. What's his name that just went from the Patriots to the Raiders?
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers signed for like half of that. I mean, I don't see anybody wanting to take on Sutton's contract versus his production and give us big draft capital for it. It just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, that's the problem for Sutton with me, is no one, to me, it's more of just a salary dump. But like Dave said, he's getting paid too much. He's, by all accounts, probably not your true number one anymore. That's Jerry Jeudy. So between what he's getting paid and Patrick's getting paid, and where I think they're going to run a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tights, 2 wide receivers, you're going to have a big name or a high-priced guy not on the field.
Yeah. The other side of this, I guess, I look at when it comes to Sutton, though, and I guess what we got to keep in context is he kind of hurt himself just a tad. He was coming into a year that now he's getting paid. Last 2 years, he got paid $4 million and he got paid $5 million. Now he enters $18 million, $17 million, $17 million. That's his last 3 years on his contract. He's getting paid $18 million this year. Well, based off of last year's production, he doesn't look like an $18 million wide receiver. Now whether he takes the field for the Broncos this year and he ends up looking like an $18 million wide receiver, that's yet to be seen. But, there's reasons why, as Dave Slade pointed out, 2 TDs in 26 games, there's reasons why, A, the Broncos might be moving on, and B, why he may not be worth that much. Not what we thought. This market this year is completely different than the Christian Kirk and the Hollywood Brown and everything that happened last year. Wide receivers aren't getting paid big money.
That's what I was going to say. If you look at the market, who is the wide receiver that's gotten paid? No one.
Nobody.
Tight end, I mean, you're seeing a lot of O-line and tight ends, which leads me to believe a lot of teams are going back to that 2 tight ends, 2 wide receiver look, and that's what it's going to be.
Ebbs and flows, baby. Ebbs and flows, man. So I will go over this, and I'll bring everybody in on the conversation on this one. Actually, I'll just check in really quick because we got a couple of comments from David Slade, and maybe I'll have something to say about him. Jerry Jeudy has an attitude that may end him up in the doghouse if Peyton, or with Peyton, I guess, is I think what Dave Slade's saying. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Sean Payton didn't necessarily have choir boys and Boy Scouts on his roster throughout his tenure. So having a little bit of an attitude may not be the biggest deal. It just depends on what that interaction looks like between Sean Payton and Jerry Jeudy. But just because he's not like I said, a choir boy or a Boy Scout, I don't think is the end of Jerry Jeudy in whole, I guess is the best way to put it. But this is a great opportunity because David Slade is not only a fantastic viewer, subscriber, watcher, commenter. We appreciate David Slade so much, but also he is our sponsor, or at least Willow Seasonings and Blends is our sponsor. And I'm telling you, gentlemen, Willow Seasonings and Blends, it's where it's at. Right now, they got their March Madness going on. And Dave, if you could remind me, if you're still out there, it's a huge sale. I don't want to overstate how big the sale is, but a huge sale going over on at Willow Seasonings and Blends. Willow Seasonings also just recently entered another contest, and though they didn't get that blue ribbon first place, they took third place and a smattering of other awards at their most recent, I guess cook-off is what it would be, their barbecue competition. So just proving once again how fantastic Willow Seasonings and Blends are. Willow Seasonings and Blends, you get all your seasonings, all your rubs, all your sauces. It is your barbecue headquarters for Flavorville. I'm going to call it that right now, Flavorville, because I'm telling you, they'll knock it out of the park on almost everything. Last week I was on here, and I was talking about how I added just a little bit of their SPG, their salt, pepper, and garlic to my omelet and made the best omelet out there. I'm telling you, don't discount where you could be using all these seasonings and all these sauces, man. I'm telling you, they're not just for your ribs and your I guess your all your barbecue favorites. They can go just about any place. So, David Slade jumping in here, and I appreciate it. Dave's getting us all hooked up. He's saying, if you go over there now, willowseasonings.com. That's willowseasonings.com. You get $9 for their rubs. You get $7 on their sauces and free shipping for any of those orders over $50, man. And I'll tell you what, they're not cheap, but you just go ahead and you get them all piled up. You get that free shipping. You get $50 worth sent to you. Man, I'm telling you, you'll be set up for the season, man. It's fantastic. Sale goes through April 3rd, 2023, just past the Fool's Day. And these seasonings are for everyday cooking. Yeah, I agree, Dave. But it's not just something that you have to bust out when you have a big party and a big barbecue going on. We've talked about popcorn. I've talked about omelets. The recipes are endless. It's everyday cooking. The thing I love most about Willow Seasonings, and then I'll get off my little soapbox for them, is that they're not overly salty. Too many times I went out there, I've got my seasonings, I get home, I put it on there, it's like salt with a hint of whatever, you name it. Not when you go with Willow Seasonings. It would have ruined my omelet had I just put in something that was just full of salt. It was fantastic. It's great flavoring. And I'm telling you what, you won't be disappointed in what you're buying every time you pick up a bottle of Willow Seasonings and Blends. He says rubs are normally $11.99 and the sauces are $9.95. So man, you're looking at about $3 savings all the way across the $3 on the rubs and $3 on the sauces as well, man. And free shipping for orders over $50. Can't go wrong. Anyway, let's get back to it, gentlemen. Let me go off on Willow Seasonings. It's just too fantastic. I'd like to say they're just only our sponsor, but they're in my kitchen on the daily. So, man, I'm telling you, last week when we got off here, gentlemen, I thought I had my Broncos draft board starting to come together, had all my positions aligned. Well, like I said, man, with everything that we went out and blew it up in free agency and absolutely just, again, spent massive amounts of money and took care of positions of need. Even all of us kind of struggled on our least favorite signing, which, hey, can't always be said when you have a list of 6-7 guys. But we knocked it out of the park. Broncos are out there spending. Peyton, like you said, we're going to be big in free agency. Penner Group came through with their checkbook. We got it all taken care of. But, man, the draft board is completely shaken up. So, Jeudy, I'm going to start off with you, man. What position now do you feel is the biggest need as we start off with our day 3 pick, our day 2 pick, round 3 pick, 67 and 68? Where do we go, man? What's most important now that we're looking at, holes filled through free agency?
I think they can go best player available. They have some small holes. I'd like to see if they're not sold on Caden. And this is if they've sign no one else.
Correct. That's where we're at.
Maybe another safety, possibly another running back. Maybe as the true starter until Williams is back, and then center for me. Center is still probably the one that I think is that weak link on the O-line. I think they still might address that in free agency before they hit the draft.
Very good. Those free agencies positions and those centers are starting to dry up a little bit. Like Bradbury's going back, for instance. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Go back over to Albert, though. Albert, same question to you, man. We filled a lot of holes, but this Broncos team wasn't perfect. We still may have some holes to fill. Where would you like to see us go with our first pick, number 67 in the third round, as we go on the clock?
For me, it would be a center or a linebacker, an edge. So have some more, a little depth. And we know Benito is not up to par yet. Browning has to find his really playability yet. And Gregory, yeah, if he stays healthy, then we only still have 3 of them. And I think we need a 4th one.
Yeah, good call out there, man. If it is really tough to say, hey, where do we go first? Because to me, we do have a whole lot of holes. I like Lloyd Cushenberry. I think he has the mind. I just don't know if he has the toughness, to play that position, especially within a Sean Payton offense. If you look at what he wants, what he needs, what a quarterback like Drew Brees needs, what a quarterback like Russell Wilson needs, you need to be stout up front, and you need to be able to hold that position, especially in the passing game, in order to allow these guys to step into their throws. I think that's the position I'd like to see them go if we had to go with our first overall pick. Again, kind of alluding to what Jeudy was saying, best position available is somewhat in the spot you're in, but I think at the same time you need to be looking at those positions of absolute need and hoping that you have guys there. If you have 2 or 3 guys across 2 or 3 positions and one of them happens to be center, I think center is where you need to go. I will say, Albert, absolutely fantastic call out, because I think the edge position is someplace that we are a little bit vulnerable. We were trying to get Browning to make that corner. We took we took Nick Benito in the second round. Did not look like a second round edge rusher.
He's got to step up this year.
Absolutely, he has. Over on the K&K podcast, I mentioned on there, I want to see him put on about 25 pounds. The guy is just too small to set the edge, doesn't have the ability. He needs to put on some weight. He needs to be able to hold that edge. It's great as a pass rusher, but we need more than that. We need for him to be able to hit that edge and hold that edge. So, that's going to be a big one for us. I think that's a place that we can certainly upgrade. Like you said, Nick Benito, Browning, you name it, we're soft at that position, and we'd really like to have, competent edge rushers on both sides of the line. We need some help there. So,
a position that I think we overlooked is D line. I mean, you replaced Dre'Mont with Zach Allen.
Yeah,
and I think DJ Jones is going to move to the outside. He's not going to play a true middle. You have Purcells, who I think you almost have to keep now. But behind that, you really don't have any depth. I mean, you got
Henningsen,
and the guy from Iowa State, I can't think of it. But other than that, you
haven't
right, and you haven't re-signed Deshaun Williams yet. I think that's a position in the draft they're going to focus on, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a cheaper signing, because even Purcells, I mean, are you comfortable with him being your starting nose guard next year if you don't re-sign a Deshaun Williams?
That's a good point, man, because Purcell is getting a little bit up in age. He's done fine, but he's not at that caliber when we were trying to get him back and trying to sign him and felt like he was a key piece. That was a few years ago, if you remember now. So, maybe not the same guy. And Dave's coming in here and saying we need to bring in a center to compete with Cush. Hopefully Cush can rebound after a year when the entire line regressed. And that brings up a good point. One of the things I've been vocal about, and maybe now we don't have to worry about this nearly as much, but especially when it was in regards to the offensive line, I really felt that the coaching changes would be just as big, if not bigger, than the personnel changes that we would have on this team. I really think that we lacked last year, whether it be Hackett or Barry or you name it. This offense struggled. They weren't coached well. They weren't given a chance. And as David was kind of pointing out, the offensive line certainly took a brunt of that. Now we don't have to worry about the right tackle position. Now we don't have to worry about the left guard position. But when it comes to guys like Cushenberry, guys like Miners, guys like Bowles who are coming back, I'm really excited to see what happens with the coaching and the scheme and how these guys can play. I think it's going to be marked improvement. And I think that you would also have seen that with guys like Dalton Reiser and Graham Glasgow as well. But I digress. They're most likely not on this Denver Broncos roster. So,
but I'm still worried about our O-line. We have no depth. We need more depth. And if something happens, if McGlinchey gets hurt, guess what? We're back to square one.
We've got Tom Compton still on the roster.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding with you.
I mean,
he is on the roster. Don't get me wrong, I believe, but that's not a solution. I was just giving you a bad time, Albert. I love your reaction.
I mean, I think if they're going to sign some other guys, I think Cam Fleming, for one, is probably takes over as your swing tackle now with Calvin Anderson going to the Patriots.
Yep.
You still have Wattenberg. I mean, we can say he played bad last year, but so did everyone else. They did tender Quinn Bailey, so they're going to bring him back.
Yeah.
So they've got some guys, but I do think that with Calvin Anderson going to the Patriots, you've got to re-sign Cam Fleming.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I like Cam Fleming over Calvin Anderson if I had to choose between the two being signed as well. So, good call. And jump in here. Dave has a question. He says, is right tackle really solid with McGlinchey ranked as the 56th in pass protection? Great run blocker, but struggles with positioning on pass blocking. Yeah, Dave, that's why I ranked him at the beginning of our show as my least favorite signing, at least per dollar, on this roster. It's why I'm excited to see still with someone like McGlinchey coming in, what this coaching staff and what the scheme is going to be like, and what we can put together. Because like you mentioned, and like we mentioned earlier, I don't think he's a perfect fit. I don't think he's the top 5 right tackle in the league. He was paid probably higher than he's probably worth, but that's what you get when you go into free agency and you're trying to solve problems and solve them now. You pay a little bit more. I think that, again, that contract will come into play in the next few years. It'll work its way in. I think he's paid right now about 15th highest in the league, if I remember right, or something to that. But that'll fall down. So.
Here's the other thing. If we are indeed going to a 60-40, 60% running and 40% passing, then that risk is also reduced.
Yeah, exactly. Scheme and coaching. Good point. Like I had mentioned, and like Albert's saying, I think that's where we will be able to really take strides. You know what I mean? I think these guys know who they're looking at, know what they're looking at, and I don't want to make assumptions about it, but 60-40 might be a little bit lean on the running game. I think we're going to lean pretty heavy into the running game, and I think we got the right guys to do it. And like you said, Albert, that will lean into the strengths of McGlinchey as well. So I do want to I'll hit this from Dave, and then I'll get to our next piece, guys. But it says, makes me think we're going to focus on the run, go back to the offense that Russ ran in Seattle. Boy, you're speaking our language here. I think that's what we're all thinking, and I think that's exactly what Jeudy was thinking. And Jody's, I can tell, he's got the pen.
If you look at Russ if you look at Russ's career stats, though, I mean, he was always like an 18 for 25, 26,
Yep.
230, 240, and 1 to 2 touchdowns. That's his career average. He was not
37 for 52.
Yeah, 37 for 52, 405 touchdowns. He was never that.
100%.
So that's why, not to go down this rabbit hole, but all last year was just from the top down was messed up. I think if he can fix one thing with Russ, it's not to hold the ball and be kind of a rhythm passer, along with the run game and getting him out and doing things that he did well in the past. I think you're going to see him much, much improve Russ. But you don't need 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards from Russ. You don't need that.
Agreed.
Last year was just a system that was set up for Aaron Rodgers. And that is the system they had, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, don't force feed that baby, and that's what we were doing. We're trying to force feed the baby. Hey, new name I haven't seen in here before. Bruce jumping in here saying, yo, Broncos doing it right this time. Man, I agree. Like I said, when we started off the show, Bruce, I can't remember the last time that the last time I remember the Broncos coming out in this tampering free agency period, whatever you want to call it, and was this aggressive. Probably what's that?
2014.
The day we signed Peyton Manning and the year and the months that followed after. That's the last time I really feel like we went out there and we just started loading up on free agents and getting guys in here to play and dominating the free agency like we have. Like I said, we've almost doubled the number two team out there in spending all together. So
what year was it when they tried to re-sign DCR and couldn't get him, so they got got Talib, and then they got TJ Ward.
2014.
And then they got DeMarcus Ware, and I mean, I thought they were pretty aggressive that year.
That's true. Okay. I'm getting a little bit older, as the beard may show. There's a couple of years on this mind, so appreciate you guys keeping me up to speed. That was a big year, but it doesn't happen very often for the Broncos. Even when we're talking 2014, we're talking almost a decade. We're talking like 9 years ago since the Broncos were really out there and playing the market. And I love this by Michael Ronquillo. He says, aggressive, not reckless. I agree. We were having a hard time picking out a bad signing. Sometimes you get those guys and you got just a head scratcher. Why did we bring this guy in? Is it the right move?
You mean like No Brow James?
Like what?
No Brow James?
No Brow James. Oh, Jawan James. Okay, very good. Yeah, there's an aggressive and reckless way of trying to address your problem. Great way to bring it up, Albert. Jawan James, man, bring him in. Laughing stock, certainly from the Dolphins, and eventually around the league for what we did. Bring him in. By the way, I think he's officially off the books now, as of this year. So no longer paying for his dead cap hit. No worries there. So we can officially move on from No Brow, as Albert's going to nickname him. So I'm trying to move on just a little bit, but it was actually Jeudy who brought up this name, and it segued really well into this. We did have some exclusive rights, free agents for the Broncos, and a few of them tendered, one not. Jeudy, you mentioned it first off. Quinn Bailey, offensive tackle, was tendered and brought over. Jonas Griffith, my favorite exclusive right free agent that was brought back, linebacker. I thought he had I think he'll play well into the defense that we're going to bring about this year for the Denver Broncos, so I'm excited to see if he gets a chance to take the field. One that I think that would surprise a ton of people, we did tender Corliss Waitman, our punter, and we let Jonathan Kongbo, edge rusher, defensive lineman, go. So any discussion on what would you like to have? That you would like to have over these four players, Jeudy, I'm going to start off with you, man. These 4 players that were brought back and let go. What are your thoughts, man?
No, I was didn't favor or agreed with what they did. I'm with you. Jonas Griffith is still. I mean, I almost certain now he is 100% lost his starting job to Alex Singleton. But Denver was really high on him. They did not address linebacker last year at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, besides Alex Singleton, who really was just brought in for special teams.
Yeah.
Because of Jonas Griffith. And he went down early with the elbow injury, and then it just kind of snowballed from there and then got injured again. I'm excited to see what he can do. I think he can be he's got good speed. I think he can be a good cover linebacker if you do go to nickel or dime, you don't have to,
sub him
out or something, or you can sub him in for Singleton or Jewel or somebody. So he is somebody that I am glad that they are keeping around. And the others make sense. Bailey, good depth piece. Corliss Waitman, I don't think was horrible last year. I mean, he was probably an above average punter for what he was making.
Fair enough, man. Albert, what are your thoughts on these gentlemen, these restricted free agents, exclusive restrictive free agents?
I'm really glad that they kept Quinn Bailey and Jonas Griffith. Jonas Griffith can be a playmaker. He can be at points. He will be given a chance to do so. Corliss Waitman, like Jeudy said, he's average or a little bit better than average, and average right now will work. We could maybe in the last round pick or whatever they call them in the last rounds, maybe get a punter or a kicker, and see what it does, because McManus definitely needs to have some competition, and because he is not worth the money that he is getting.
Yeah, McManus had an off year. Didn't punt or didn't kick nearly as well, but was put into some predicaments where he was stressed to make some fairly long kicks, ones that not a whole lot of other kickers around the league are even given opportunity for. Certainly in the time frame of the game, I'll give it that. So I guess I was just surprised with Waitman. Not only did he kind of struggle on the punting side of things, but there was a lot put on him as far as him being the holder for McManus and the struggles that he had there. So, when you're struggling on both sides of that equation, I guess, it wasn't big money to bring him back in, but I didn't think it was a necessary move. As you had pointed out, Albert, it's so easy to bring somebody in late in the draft or, as an undrafted free agent to maybe fill that hole. Jeudy, saw your pen up.
One, don't get hung up on his average and stuff. I mean, there were games that he was punting 8, 10, 12 times a game. I mean, it was 3-and-out punt. I mean, we all watched it, 3-and-out punt, 3-and-out punt, 3-and-out punt. So I think some things are going to change. One thing that I thought he did well was he did pin a lot of guys inside the 20 well, not a lot of touchbacks.
Yes, agreed.
So I don't get hung up on. I don't think we should get hung up on his average with the amount of punts he was out there. I mean, he was punting way more than any punter really should have punted, to be honest.
Yeah, like I said, my issue with Waitman wasn't necessarily his performance when he was kicking the ball. It was really the holding that I think, in my opinion, got McManus a few of his misses and a few of the reasons that he's on the chopping block, especially when you talk to guys like David Slade. He's saying, let McManus go. You can get a decent kicker as an undrafted free agent. I agree, but I don't know how many of them can necessarily do it in the big time.
I think there's things.
There's just really quick. There's teams all across the league. I would say half of the teams every single year that are struggling with their kicker. And it hasn't been an issue here except for maybe a few kicks last year. I just be careful what you wish for is all I'm asking. So
I think there are other things behind the scenes that why I think they like McManus. I mean, he is a player rep for this team.
Mm-hmm.
He's been around. I mean, he's the lone holdover from the Super Bowl.
Yep. Yep.
They like that I mean, you got to have some veterans on this team. So, and that even like Kareem Jackson, I think that's one of those a veteran player. You got to have some of them. So.
Yeah, and there, a few names that are out there. I saw someone suggesting that Prater should be looked at. I also saw Mason Crosby is a free agent kicker. So there are guys out there if you just wanted to replace him and have a veteran presence that you could possibly go out there and
I
get.
mean, it would
Those are
be
fairly
full
good names.
circle to bring Prater back.
It certainly would.
Prater already got signed by a team.
Oh, did he? Oh,
yeah.
Well, so much for that, man. Late breaking news. You got to be on it these days. Are certainly at these moments. So we'll see what happens there. So Dave coming in and saying just make Russ hold. I appreciate that. Don't know. Can't remember the last starting quarterback that was the starting holder. It's been a few years. So
the Cards re-signed him.
The Cards re-signed him. Very good. Very good. Well, gentlemen, I think we're almost to the end here, but there's a few other things that I'd really like to get into. One of those, as we're up against time, is one that Matt Staffiero is bringing up, and I appreciate Matt jumping in here as well. But Matt brings up something that's been in the media, been in the news a little bit. The rumors that persisted about Courtland Sutton, and even added in a little bit of Jerry Jeudy as well. It was, front and center on our big ad for our show. So, why don't I start off with Albert on this one? We'll go over to Jeudy second. Albert, do you think that Sutton or Jeudy ends up getting moved somewhere between now and the end of draft day?
I don't think that Jeudy is getting moved unless they offer 2 first-round picks or a first-round pick for him. He doesn't get moved. But Courtland Sutton, I think if they get a third round for him, maybe a 4th and a 5th, and then Courtland will be moved. It frees up some money, and I think for Courtland it's going to be better too, because right now there's a lot of anxiety. Let's call it that way between
stress
them.
in the relationship, huh?
Yep.
That's fair enough. Jeudy, I'll swing it right back over to you. Sutton, Jeudy, both been rumored. Maybe people out there inquiring. Broncos not actively shopping, but listening to what's being said, what's being asked, the phone calls that are coming in. Does Sutton get moved? Does Jeudy get moved? What are your thoughts on this, man?
I think you have to listen. I don't think they're actively shopping Jeudy. If a team wants to come and give you loads of picks for him, then you've got to listen to that.
Sure.
And Sutton, I think it's more. I've kind of come around on this. I was more keep him at first, but it's more of a salary dump because if you're going to run a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, you're going to have one big name wide receiver on the sidelines. There's Sutton or Patrick. And that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, he's eating up, $18 million on the cap? If you can go get a 3 or 4 and dump that salary, you can go get somebody that, fits better, a true slot. We don't know what we're going to get from Hamler. Can he stay healthy?
Correct. But that also brings me to the point of maybe why you keep a guy like Sutton on the roster. Right now, we don't know where Tim Patrick's at. We expect him to be back and to be healthy, but he went through an ACL tear. We had to still see it. He still has to prove it back. Hamler can't stay healthy. You don't have then you start getting into Brandon Johnsons and Jalen Virgils and, there's a huge drop-off. So
I think there's other wide receivers out there. Adam Thielen, Jarvis Landry,
Brandon Cooks.
There's other guys out there that I think can fill the role better than what Sutton can do because is he really – I mean, I like the idea of him in the slot. Sometimes he's not going to play the slot all the time, and you've got to fill that role somewhere.
And we signed Lil Humphreys or whatever is his name.
Lil Jordan Humphreys. I don't know if he's necessarily going to take the world by storm. No one was looking for Little Jordan out on the market, so I don't know if we beat anybody to the punch, and they got really snubbed, and now they're trying to figure out how their team's going to make the playoffs over Little Jordan Humphreys. But I digress. Maybe I shouldn't speak bad about anybody I haven't even looked at yet. I'm sorry, Little Jordan Humphreys. You're probably amazing. Thank you. I'm going to jump in here, and because one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up, this is something that is coming about. Michael Ronquillo jumping in here and saying New England Patriots is one NFL team linked to wide receiver Courtland Sutton. Yes, right before we got on the show, there was news that I saw that linked those two together. Maybe some talks going on in the background. The New England Patriots are in desperate need for a wide receiving core, something to get around Mac Jones and try to make a run and make sure that he's A, the quarterback, or B, is not the quarterback for the New England Patriots. Tough to tell when you don't have a wide receiver.
And I definitely think he's on the block. Benjamin Albright just tweeted, yes, the Broncos were in pursuit of Alan Lazar, who all reports is going to the Jets. So, I mean, they're looking at other wide receivers. But really, I think it's a salary dump. I mean, just for a guy that's not going to be on the field all the time, that $18 million is just too much money.
I'm telling you, we're
the
biggest thing is we need to make sure that we have a healthy Tim Patrick in what you're saying. If we don't have a healthy Tim Patrick, if he's not the guy that we were talking about, and you let Courtland Sutton go, and you have Jerry Jeudy, and then you have whoever you want to bring in for $4 million a year, that's not necessarily setting yourself up for success either. Tim Patrick is got to be healthy, or you need to go out there and get somebody who's fairly decent. We talked about it, even though I forgot his name like multiple times, but Jacoby Myers was a guy that I thought we could go out and we could target and be that guy. Jacoby Myers didn't sign for big money. Like I said, he signed for, I think it was a 3-year, $30 million deal or something to that effect. Like essentially $10 million a year. I think $7 million a year guaranteed. It wasn't a whole lot of money. It's why I understand that Sutton's contract is out of line, but who wants it? If we trade him, are we trading cash, in order to maybe compensate for it, or are we just getting low draft picks? It's got to make sense. And if we don't have Patrick back and we don't know if he's there, I don't know if it necessarily makes sense for us to move him, but it seems like I might be in the minority on this one.
But here's another thing. With the new system that we are going to play, if we have Jeudy, and even if Patrick is only 75%, I think we are very, very dangerous to a team to be reckoned with, even at 75% Tim Patrick.
That's fair. I guess that's fair. I never like to say I want to rely on anybody that's 75%. But, just to prove Jody's point, I'm going to go back to a comment that came in a little bit ago. And Bruce said, Bruce, I appreciate you jumping in here. Like I said, I haven't seen your name in here before, so I wanted to get back to you on this one. This was a good one. He says, I agree. Feels good to be excited about our massive O-line, run game, grown man, old school football, DB for life, Denver Broncos for life, DB4L. So, absolutely, I think it's a turning of the page of where we're at, who we're going to be. It's we're going to see a completely different Denver Broncos team, and thank goodness after last year, we don't need to see another year of that. It's going to be exciting, Broncos.
And I think Tim Patrick, his injury was really early in training camp. So, if you're going to get injured, that's probably the best. Because it's not going to trickle over into the next season.
It's fair.
It was a clean tear. It was just the ACL. It wasn't destroyed like Javonte Williams. And you can look at other guys like the guy in down Michael Gallup. He had the same kind of injury, and he came back and he played well. So I think when it happened, how it happened, I think he should be almost by week 1, he should be close to 100%.
Agreed. One last question, and then we'll get to some closing thoughts, guys. George Payton came out and he said, hey, we're going to be aggressive in free agency. I think we can go ahead and put a big old check into that box, say that definitely came true. One thing that he said before that is the Broncos, he said, we're definitely going to have more draft picks than what we have right now. If that is going to be true, there's only 2 ways you can go about it. You're either trading back in the draft and picking up more picks, or you're trading a player and you're picking up draft picks in that regard. So Jeudy, go ahead. Albert wants to jump in. So I was going to say, Albert, how are we going to pick up draft picks? What's your thought on it?
George Payton was right. We had 5, then we got 6, and late first rounder for what is the defensive end?
Chubb.
And then we traded it again for Sean Payton. So he already spoke the truth. We had more draft picks.
Okay, man. I see that. Dan,
I have to defend him a little bit.
Okay, well, like I said, old brain. You get a little bit along. I appreciate that. I'll jump it over to Jeudy then. Jeudy, do you think that we'll pick up more draft picks, or do you think we're done?
No, I think we will. I think if the reports are true that they tried to go after Alan Lazar, I think that pretty much means they're trying to get rid of Sutton. I think they're just how much of this salary are they going to eat of Sutton? Right? I mean, you can pick up a pick there, and that's I think what it's just so much money. It's just a huge contract to pick up.
It is, and it's not. I think it's funny. Getting to a comment really here. We have I'm sorry, a little bit earlier comment, or later comment. Sutton, another bad contract by Payton, kind of like alluding to what you were talking here. David Slade coming in and mentioning that. The funny thing is when this was signed, this was a good contract. We got Tim Patrick, we got Courtland Sutton under contract for multiple years. It wasn't a bad contract. We thought it was, for some of the big contracts that were being floated out there for wide receivers at the time. We thought we did our due diligence. So, now whether those players played up to those contracts is a different story right now. Sutton, I don't think would, and Patrick is to be determined because those guys.
That's
were both
what made
at the
it
same
a
time.
bad contract, I think, or what makes it look bad is he never really got back to pre-ACL injury.
Correct.
I mean, and
something you could be worried about on a Tim Patrick.
I agree. It's just something that we, for 2 years now, he has just never came. And there were plays that I think frustrate this coaching staff. Like he just didn't block in certain games. He just gave up on certain plays, and it was obvious on game film that just made it where you had 2 guys in Johnson and Virgil who would probably died to get on the field, and he's taking plays off right in the middle of the game.
His Sutton's fire was gone.
And when Sutton, and when you tweet out something like "I want to be where I'm wanted and appreciated," I mean, that's who's going to blink first. I guess are you going to keep me?
Mm-hmm. You start playing the game, man.
Right. Once you fire something off on Twitter, it's shots are fired. You can't take that back. You can delete it, but someone's already screenshotted it. So.
There you go. Yeah, I can't delete that tweet like you think you can, man. Not when you're that big. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Sutton did come out saying he wanted to be someplace he was appreciated. Don't know where he's getting that.
Oh, it looks. I think.
Sorry, I blinked there for a second, gentlemen. So
we signed a new fullback.
Yeah, Mike Burton.
Yeah, news coming in. By the way, before we get out of here, and it's certainly about that time, gentlemen, so we'll probably wrap this up. Matt Staffiero coming in and saying Broncos signed fullback Mike Burton. That's breaking news. By the way, breaking news, if you're looking for it, wouldn't doubt if it's already over on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Check it out on their Facebook page. I'm telling you, they were just about as good as like following Ian Rappaport or one of those guys as far as how quickly they got the news out in your hands, on your phone, on your computer. Rocky Mountain Sports Network. I'm telling you, these guys are nailing it as of lately. That's how you get in our podcast, and they're bringing you breaking news not only about the Broncos, but all your sports all the way around the league. Got to see all those signings coming through. If you're tuned into the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, if you're liking, sharing, subscribing to their Facebook page, you are up to date on everything that's happening around the NFL. And Matt, appreciate you jumping in here and letting us know about Mike Burton right in the show. We'll have to check him out and see, as obviously replacement for Beck. By the way, just a few departures that we didn't get to. Mike Boone and Andrew Beck end up heading over to Houston. Calvin Anderson we talked about already, going to New England. Who else did I miss? Oh, Dre'Mont Jones, Seattle Seahawk now. So gentlemen that have left our presence as a Denver Broncos. I'll be honest, I really liked Andrew Beck. He was big, especially if I went back and I actually watched that Seattle Broncos opening game. Man, he was huge in that game, gentlemen. Texans picked up a great guy there. Mike Boone, gentleman that certainly collected a paycheck from the Denver Broncos. I don't know if he ever really contributed much to earn those dollars, but moves on to the Texans. And Dre'Mont Jones, I don't know. I'm sad to see him go. He is a young, dominant defensive player that I would have liked to seen develop for a long time, for the Denver Broncos. But, wasn't in the plans. We're bringing Zach Allen as a quote-unquote kind of a replacement for maybe that position. And Dre'Mont Jones is getting a fairly hefty contract over there and up there in Seattle. So, best wishes to all those former Broncos, I guess. So,
and we have another departure which is really good for us. Derek Waller from the Raiders is no longer with them.
Yeah, if you want to start talking about everything that happened around the league, man, we could get into especially even in the AFC West, we could really dive into it. Obviously, that's one of them. Darren Waller, obviously out the door. I was thinking about running back for the Los Angeles Chargers. Eckler is now received permission to seek a trade. He had asked for that and has received that. So Eckler could be moving on. There's lots of changes happening all over the place.
One thing we underestimate here, I think, is having owners with deep pockets. I mean, they maneuvered a lot of these contracts in a way with signing bonuses and different things, and you've got to have that money set aside. You've got to have physical money for it. You can look at the Chargers for one. I mean, they're dumping players and doing some different things. Why have they not played probably their second best player in Austin Eckler? Mm-hmm. Because they know they're going to have to back the truck up with Justin Herbert coming up soon, and you may have lots of or be worth a lot, but I mean, cash poor. Mark Davis, cash poor. That's where you can't really maneuver the cap like you want to, because when you give it, what did I hear, $57 million in signing bonuses between these guys? I mean, you got to have that sitting there in the bank set aside to pay it.
Yeah, everyone knows about Deshaun Watson's record-breaking contract, and Lamar Jackson. We could get down that elaborate hole. That's a whole different story. But Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns converted almost all of his salary for this year to a signing bonus, so they could free up cap space to go out there and take care of things. As you mentioned, Jeudy, you got to have that cash in the bank in order to, hand that over. You can't just do that if you don't have the ownership that have the pockets to do so. And we've seen things like that. Chargers might be in that situation right now. We've seen the Raiders in the past. There's plenty of teams. A lot of teams are worried about Cincinnati and all the contracts they're going to be running up against, and necessarily their ownership doesn't necessarily have the deepest pockets in the league as well. So can they get that all done? So, yeah.
I mean, that's going to be crazy when those two are going to break the bank, Burrows and Herbert. And like you said, those are not the cash flushest of owners. And what do those quarterbacks say? I'm loyal to you because you drafted me, or pay me or I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yep. And it's tough because you're also talking about all the talent around you at the same time. We've seen those teams that can hold on to one or two good players, but that's it, and never can put the talent around them. You don't want to be one of those players either. You could be Joe Burrow and get paid, but you don't have Chase anymore, and you don't have, you don't have all the weapons that made you, great in who you were, and who you are.
I mean,
so
you just take Denver. They went out and spent $220 million, not counting the deals that they did today, and I mean, with $40 million in cap.
Yep.
I mean, they had to do some maneuvering with contracts and signing bonuses and different things. That's not happening if you would have got different owners in here.
100%, man, 100%.
So great. Give credit to that cap guy from the Broncos.
You caught it, man. Well, gentlemen, I think we need to wrap up the show. We're running obviously way over on time. I wanted to get some ideas maybe about, in this next week, what you guys are going to be looking at, what you're going to be looking for. Obviously, free agency continues a little bit as well as we get into that second tier. But before we get out of here and before we wrap up the show, give me your thoughts. And Albert, since you've been off the screen for a little bit, man, what is your next week for Broncos country looking for? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm looking indeed some more free agency, and it's going to be focusing on the draft, of course, because that will happen in roughly 5 weeks. So that's something that is on the hot wire as well. But yeah, I'm planning on getting back home, so packing my suitcases and stuff, and so that is what my week will look like.
Yes, get back home, Albert, and enjoy getting back home. Having all the home comforts, right? It's like my slippers are here. You know what I mean? That broken banister, that I touch every single morning, it's right here.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm excited for you, Jeudy. What do you got planned for the week? What are you going to be looking forward to and getting planned for our next show?
I'm really just looking forward to see what they do with Sutton. Do they trade him? And does someone back up the truck with a bunch of draft picks where Denver can't say no to Jeudy? I mean, if someone's going to hand you 2 1s and some other stuff, I mean, you've got to consider that. I mean, so I'm really excited to see what they do with that. And then just preparation for this draft. I'm really excited to see if they got to fill some depth pieces and what other little tweaks they can make to fill this roster out.
Absolutely. Just kind of speaking on that Sutton and Jeudy, I know that we had Michael Ronquillo come in here and talk about the New England Patriots. I want to add one other team name into that as well. And that's the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys have been rumored to be a little interested as well. Of course, Courtland Sutton comes from SMU, right in the backyard of the Dallas Cowboys. And then you look at someone like Jerry Jeudy, who could reunite with a gentleman named CeeDee Lamb, who both played together at Alabama. And that could be quite a dynamic wide receiving duo down in Dallas as well. So, man, I had to agree with you, Jeudy. That wasn't going to be my thought. My thought was closing thought was right around what Albert was talking about, man. As we kind of wrap up free agency, that's where I want to be looking. Broncos have typically been really, really active in that second tier. I don't know if they'll need to be as active as they were in that first round, that opening wave of free agency, but we still have roster spots to fill. We could definitely get some depth pieces. We've seen a lot of comments and from either us or from our viewers and our commenters talking about needing some depth in this team. This is where we can maybe fill some of those spots as well. So, yeah, free agency. And then, guys, by the time we gear back up and get off our show next week, we'll be talking about pro days as they're coming up right around the corner as well. We'll be looking at those quarterbacks that are going to be highlighted, but all those other players around those pro days, something the Broncos will definitely be involved in looking at, and I'm hoping that we get some great talent that will be coming out of those pro days hitting the Broncos roster as well. So Michael Ronquillo jumping in, he said, my final thoughts of the Broncos are making moves in free agency. And Michael, you are 100% correct, man. They are out there. They've been busting, like I said, like no other, like I hadn't seen, well, since we hadn't seen since 2014, now that it's been brought back to my memory. So by my fantastic co-hosts, Jeudy and Albert, appreciate you guys. So any final thoughts before we get out of here, gentlemen?
Yeah, let everybody get some Willow seasonings and barbecue some ribs so they can watch Rocky Mountain Sports Network.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. Jeudy, anything from you, sir?
Nope, I'll just piggyback off of that, and glad that we have owners that showed that we are in win now mode, not we're just going to ride Russ out one more year. We're going to give Russ a real opportunity to show what he has, and either he proves it or he doesn't.
Yeah, not holding back. Broncos are in it to win it. Loving it. But Broncos country, I told you this offseason, like I said, it was going to be hot, and it hasn't disappointed. With so much going on, you'll want to stay up to speed on all the breaking news, and that's why you should like, share, and subscribe to the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Not only will they hit you with all the breaking news, but they will go in-depth with podcasts, articles, and great analysis across the board from a team of knowledgeable sports enthusiasts. All right. Gentlemen, just a reminder, like, share, and subscribe to the Denver Bronco Roundup as well. Tell all your friends and family. We're on multiple social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you always know when we're coming on. Sometimes we're a little bit late, like today. Not too late, but a little bit late. Always good to have that reminder. That way you don't have to try to catch us at 6:30 when we're typically on. But that being said, until next Tuesday, when we're back at 6:30 Mountain Daylight Time, hopefully you got all your clocks set. This is the Denver Bronco Roundup. Appreciate everyone. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next one. Take care.